I am the Humble Seer.
Hello and welcome to the Humble Seer. So let's go into the Wayback Machine and talk about James Brown. We're going to do an old Hollywood James Brown. And I don't know anything about James Brown. I know his music, okay? But outside of that, I don't know. I didn't know that he was an abusive man. He was volatile when he drank. He was high strung. He did drugs. And he led a tortured life. Okay, so now I know something because that's what I got. So let's pull some cards on James Brown and let's get into his life. Because in many ways, he was a very very strange person. I'm going to pull 4 cards because that's what I'm being compelled to do. And we'll get them on the board and I'll tell the story. But he was a strange person, but he was he was high strung. He was a physically abusive person. He physically abused. Okay, we have the 7 of Cups. Like I say, I'm going to get the cards on the board and then I'll tell the story. We have the Queen of Pentacles. The Sun. And the Queen of Cups. I'm getting that he loved his mother, or whoever that female, mother figure was to him. He cared for a great deal. Okay, so let's get into it. We start the reading with the 7 of Cups. And that's good choices, ideas, new projects, imagination, a variety of choices. And it just tells me that this is a very gifted person because imagination is in that part of the description of the 7 of Cups. And he was an imaginative child. And he took himself away to other places as a child because, growing up, I just see him being backhanded and slapped and, just hit and thrown. It's just awful. And I'm hearing that he had to have very thick skin. It's like what I'm hearing is when a door would shut or a bell or something with the door, maybe it was a chime or something. This was him as a child. When he would hear that, he knew that he was going to be abused. He was going to be harmed in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I see a man doing this, just picking things up and abusing him. And so he led a very tough life and he brought that into his adult life. And I'm hearing that his childhood was worse than most. Irrespective of what you may hear or what you may not hear. In the James Brown household, it was hell. Until he managed to escape. He escaped with his imagination, but he also physically escaped and got out. And so we move into, his world as James Brown, the singer and the dancer. It brought him the Queen of Pentacles. It brought him comfort. But the women that he would bring into his life, they were treacherous. They just weren't any good for him. They were not in his best interest. But he treated them like the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, I just keep going back to, him being abused. I can literally see it like I'm watching a movie. He would be scarred up and just brutalized. But the son comes in, and the son tells us that he did not overcome that. Okay, that stayed with him because, as I said a moment ago, the brutality that he received at the hands of this man was something that most people could never even imagine. It was brutal. It was brutal. And so in his adult life, he had escaped that. And so it's the son. But the reality is that he brought all of that with him. And how could you not? Unless your mind was wiped, and that's not possible. There's not enough hypnosis or, trying to sit in and recline in a psychiatrist's chair to overcome everything that this young child at the time dealt with. I'm just hearing I was beaten and brutalized. It was just, it was not even a matter of fear. I had so much, it was like his body released something. I don't even know how to explain it, but I can see it and feel it. It's like, I don't know. It's not endorphins, because that's like when you get that exercise, or dopamine when you, get a like on Facebook. It's like that. His body was releasing something. I don't know. It's trying to come through, but I can't completely understand it. The fear was that great, and his body would produce something, and there's probably a clinical term for it. But the son is what he had. And in some instances he did. He had respites of happiness and joy. But he also had alcoholism and drugs and drinking and womanizing and beating people, women especially. He was brutal because he dealt with brutality all of his life. Now, the Queen of Cups comes in his life, is what I'm getting at the end of his life. And whether it was a nurse or a lover or someone, but it was a woman that came into his world. And he really just wants to pay homage. He wants to let that person know how much they meant to him because of all the brutality that he experienced in his life. And what I get is that person will watch this video and they will understand. Hopefully they've gotten to the end of this. But, it's like he had a great love for them because they really helped him. They helped him get through his pain. This is a very painful story. I don't want to stay in this energy anymore, so I'm going to leave it there. May you rest in peace, Mr. Brown. You're welcome. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for stopping by the Humble Seer. Please do consider liking, sharing, subscribing. Leave a comment below and tell me what you think about this reading. And if you like what I do, consider buying me a coffee in the description box below. Until next time, you take good care and we'll talk again soon. Bye.